Carrie back with How to Homeschool My Child. And today we are at day 2 of our homeschool planning boot camp. Yay! I am so excited. I don't know about you, but yesterday was a lot of fun. It was a lot for me personally to go on live in the morning and the evening and do our Mom's Monday Lunch Bunch in the middle of the day. So, for those of you that missed Mom's Monday Lunch Bunch, yesterday we talked about time management. Not the things I'm talking about today, but some other ideas. So, you're welcome to go listen to that as well. Yesterday was day 1. I am so proud of you that have put in your challenges. You have entered those challenges on a post-it or you just wrote it on a comment. I love some of your one goal, just one goal for now, and we're going to use that today as we talk about scheduling. So we've got one goal, and then that you were chose a time to spend time with God. So my question is, how'd it go this morning if you got up? I will be perfectly honest. I overslept. Yes, I overslept and did not hit my 6 a.m. time that I put here. But I did get up and I actually did still spend some time with God this morning and then went on a prayer walk. So the time is really up to you. It's what works with your family and your schedule. Today we are going to talk about time. We're going to talk about scheduling more than anything and a little bit about time management. I spent more time talking about that yesterday. So my question to you is, can you relate to any of this? You can't find the perfect schedule. Is there really one? Can we really stick to it? How do I start homeschooling? How do I make a plan? That's what some of y'all are asking. How do I stay up with the planning and the prep? How do I stay consistent? How do I find time for work and homeschooling? I'm not disciplined enough to schedule and manage my time. Help! Well, let's go ahead and dive into some of these ideas. One of those ideas I want to talk about, I did talk a little bit about this yesterday, so I won't belabor the point, is the idea of having a routine instead of a tight-fisted schedule that you feel guilty if you don't do. So your routine is that you get up, you eat, you have homeschool, you eat lunch, you do some activities, or you go to soccer practice or whatever, and then you have dinner, and then you have time with your family playing games or reading a book or whatever. That is a routine. You're not locked into, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. I had a routine actually for my homeschool morning, and that was we had family time. We worked a little by ourselves. The kids had a 15-minute break. We worked a little bit more, and then we had lunch. That is a routine. That is not an exact schedule that makes me feel guilty. So I'd really encourage you to think through, what is your daily flow? What is your routine? I think that will take a lot of pressure off of you and help give you grace and patience for it. So let's talk about a schedule. Your schedule goes back to the one goal that you set yesterday. So if you haven't chosen that one goal, I would really encourage you to choose that one goal. When I was first starting, my goal was to use real books. And so I didn't want to use textbooks. And so as I made plans and my schedule, I integrated real books throughout the whole day. What is your one goal? And where is God leading you? So I think this is two-part. First of all, what is God leading to you personally? And I will tell you that whatever you do first thing in the morning is most important to you, whether that's personally or whether that's in your homeschool. And that is how you are starting your routine for the day or your schedule. Is it spending time with God? Is it getting up and reading your Bible? I don't have my phone, or is it scrolling through social media in bed before you get up? Or is it spending time with your husband first thing in the morning before he goes off to work? Or is it opening your YouVersion app and reading your Bible on that? Those are just a few ideas. What is the first thing that you do in the morning? Whatever it is most important to you, because you're going to make sure it gets done first thing. If what you are doing is really not your heart's desire, you need to make a change. And this is a week that you can begin to make a change as well. And so I'd really encourage you personally just to look at what you're doing personally. Now, homeschool priorities, same thing. Whatever you do first in your homeschool is generally what's most important to you. Some of you may have heard my story that as I just told you, real books are real important to me. So after lunch, our first year, I would read aloud. And you know what happened? I'm reading my book, and then I fall asleep. And so I hand the book off to one of the girls to finish reading. What am I modeling? I'm modeling that I fall asleep when I read. Reading is boring. Reading isn't really important. So I decided after that first year we were making a complete change. And the first thing we did every morning for every year after that is we read aloud. And my kids complained the first, and they were like, "Oh, well, we'll never get our math done. We'll never get this done. We'll never get that done." I was like, too bad. This is what is most important to me, guys. And we are going to read real books first thing in the morning. So that is how I started my homeschool schedule. Now, I will tell you, the Bible, we had our devotions either during breakfast or right after breakfast. So Bible started our day and read aloud. Those are my two most important things to do. Whatever your purpose is in homeschooling, whatever that one goal is, you need to figure out how to integrate that maybe first thing in the morning. Because if you're like me and you wait till the afternoon, it may not get done. Or if you wait till 11 o'clock, things might take so much time. And we have catastrophes and meltdowns and all sorts of things. And so we may not get it all done. So I think it's really important that you use your purpose to figure out what is first in the morning. And I would like to share that I am going to be talking a lot about homeschooling with purpose. So I told you what it was like the first few years. About year 5 out of 10, God started making some changes in my direction of homeschooling. And I'm going to be talking about all of those changes and how I feel like that really prepared my kids for real life and to think for themselves and study independently. So next week I offer a free masterclass, 4 Steps to Raising Christian Leaders in Your Homeschool. And you are welcome to come to it because the entire thing will be all talking about how do we take our purpose and implement it. And I'll be sharing my purpose in homeschooling and how I implemented that as well. I'll put the link to that, but it's howtohomeschoolmychild.com/4 steps. So first, your schedule needs to go according to that one goal that you set yesterday. Next, let's talk about a daily schedule. Then we're going to go to weekly and annual. For me, throughout all 10 years, even all the way to graduation, because 2 of my girls graduated from homeschool, we finished by lunch. We started in the morning, we finished by lunch. Now, did they have other stuff to do? Sometimes they read by themselves immediately after lunch when they were younger. As teenagers, if they had some more work to do, they were doing that independently. But our homeschool time was between breakfast and lunch, and that was it. Our afternoons when they were younger were, what I would suggest with afternoons, they either had a nap time or quiet time, depending on their age. And if you have toddlers, I highly encourage a nap time. Preschoolers, they use quiet time to read in their room, do something quiet in their time. Not only did that give all of us a break, it gave me a break to sort of catch my breath and take care of some things that I needed to do independently. One day a week, that was working on Steve's bookkeeping. Other days of the week, I did other things. It may have just been mopping the kitchen floor. As the kids were independent, teens, I told you they worked more independently as well. And think about it. What would life be like if your kids understood your schedule and they learned independently? Leave a comment. I hadn't really said anything about comments, but leave a comment and let us know if your kids understood your schedule and if your kids could work independently. What kind of impact would that have on your homeschool? I think it is very important that we teach our kids to study and to learn independently. It will look different from a 7-year-old than a 17-year-old. I will tell you, my older kids, they learned independently. They knew by that time how to read, how to write about what they were reading, how to think about what they were reading, how to talk about what they were reading. They were internalizing and learning themselves. They were making choices about their learning. When they were younger, it looked different. And one of the things I tried to make sure was they knew my expectations each week and each day so that when I worked with one child, the other 2 could be working independently. I gave you some ideas yesterday about that in time management. I will tell you one of them. My kids could work on a weekly schedule. So they knew on Monday I needed to do this. On Tuesday I needed to do that. And we had a whole system on how you could do that. And so they would check that off and just work on Monday. When they were finished with Monday, did I give them more things if they were finished at 10:30? No. They could go do what they wanted and be curious and inquisitive and take care and do things that they were interested in. So I really think when we teach our kids some sort of independent study, that will help. Now, what about those toddlers and preschoolers? Oh my goodness. The one thing I would encourage you to do with a toddler and a preschooler is have a special homeschool basket, and it only comes out when you need them to work independently. If you are all reading a book together, they don't need that basket. It's when you're trying to work with the 10-year-old on long division or whatever it is, and you need them to be quiet. Maybe those are puzzles, coloring books, Legos, whatever it is that will occupy them. And it's not going to occupy them a long time, maybe 15 minutes. And something that will keep them off the TV. Having said that, yes, I put Hunter in front of the TV 30 minutes or 1 hour a day when I was homeschooling Ashley. And she was the only one I was homeschooling at the time. Do I feel guilty? No. But I used it because I was still trying to, it was my first year. I didn't know what I was doing. Would I do that again? Maybe not, but I would use it if I did it. And I chose the shows very specifically because we didn't have all the DVRs and all that kind of stuff. We just had like 4 or 5 channels. So I chose that time period very purposefully what he would be watching. So, or I could have put a educational video on for him as well. So, what would life be like if your kids understood your schedule and they learned independently? Again, during that 4 steps class, I'm going to be talking more about independent learning and how we really trained our kids to learn independently. I also think I already mentioned afternoon projects. I think afternoon projects, that's when we did our science experiments. We might do some art. We would, if the kids had a project they were working on from something in the morning, that's when we would get those things done. I think that projects are ways, hands-on ways that our kids learn to love learning. I also think reading aloud is a way that we encourage our kids to love learning. So I scheduled that in the morning time. We also did read aloud in the evenings. And not only did they see me reading aloud, they saw Steve reading aloud at night. We would play games together. And I think that's a great way to encourage a love of learning. And so I would just think that we need to encourage those. We need to not just make everything book work. And that is just like drudgery. Who wants to learn when all they think about is books? Or even just on the screen, just answering questions. So I think it's important that as we think about our schedule, we encourage a love of learning. On Friday, I will be talking about fun learning. On Thursday, I will also be talking about motivating our kids to encourage a love of learning. And next week in my master class, one of those 4 steps is the love of learning. And so I'll be talking about that as well and probably going into that. So what would happen to your stress level if your kids truly enjoyed learning? Leave a comment and let me know. If your kids enjoyed learning, how would that affect you? Would that reduce your stress, reduce your overwhelm? Would it help you maybe even build relationships with your kids? Leave a comment and let me know what you think. So, the other thing I would like to say on a daily schedule is you don't need to do every single subject every day or even every year or every week. I did not do, like I talked about art. We didn't do art every day. We didn't do music every day. We didn't do whatever every day. There were many subjects we did not do every day. And some of that depended on the ages of the kids. Give yourself grace. I said, that's today's challenge. I was going to say it was yesterday's challenge. What subjects do you need to do every single day? The subject I needed to do every single day, personally, if I were writing this down, this is one of your challenges, is Bible and reading or read aloud. Believe it or not, that's it. I would probably add history. Yes, you don't see math and science in there, especially at the younger ages. That is a time later. I will tell you a story. I took Hunter off of math when he was in 1st grade. He didn't do any kind of math curriculum until 6th grade. In 6th grade, he caught up in a year and a half to grade level. So I spent those early years focusing on language. Let me ask you a question. When's the best time to learn a foreign language? We pretty much all know the answer. When the kids are little. So when's the first time to focus? Why shouldn't we focus on language development when our kids are young? Now, Hunter loved math. I didn't take math away from him. He did things in math all the time, but he was not on a math curriculum. And in high school, when he went back in his sophomore year of high school, he won the math award. Did that 5 years of no math curriculum hurt him? No. So just something to think about. That is very outside the box. That is really hopping off the conveyor belt. I'm all about hopping off the conveyor belt. So you don't need to do every subject every day. You need to think about that for you. I'm not telling you what subjects to do. The other idea is loop scheduling. I think you should write down the subjects you need to do every day, and then the rest of them you can just loop from day to day to day, or week to week to week, or even year to year to year. I never finished a textbook in as a public school teacher in a year or as a homeschool teacher. We were studying Rome one year, and in May I stopped because we don't school year round. I stopped in middle of Rome. I picked up Labor Day weekend. I started reading what we were studying out of Truth Quest history, and I went, oh my goodness. Katrina had just hit New Orleans. Everything that was happening, all the riots, everything that was happening in Katrina were stuff that I was reading about in Rome. Did they miss anything for those 3 months? No. I know some of you think, well, they're going to forget. No, we just pick right back up. And you can loop schedule daily, or you can do it annually as well. That's what I did, especially in history. We just picked up from wherever we were. Even in science, even in math, we would stop our math and then we would just pick it right back up. Now, it may take a week or two to review some things, but we need a break. God rested on the seventh day. I was taking a break as well. The last thing I want to say about scheduling is your kids need to take some ownership. They need to make some choices. Give them choices. As young kids, they can choose what books to read, maybe what science projects they want to work on. But I think it's important they make choices. As older kids in high school, and I'm not going to go into this, I talked about it yesterday, I will talk about it again in the 4 Steps class, is they need to take ownership and leadership in their education. They need to be making choices about what subjects they study in high school. Ashley did not finish Algebra 2. She got a college degree in a year and a half. She went on to teach at-risk kids and got her own teaching certificate without studying education. So there are plenty of ways we can work, we can do things without staying on that conveyor belt and without being told. I truly believe that kids that are always told what to do are dependent on someone else. They're dependent on mom. They're dependent on the government. They're dependent on their employer. They can't think for themselves. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about that in 4 Steps, but we need to give our kids ownership and leadership opportunities throughout all their schooling. What are you going to let them make decisions on this year in their homeschool? So that's daily schedule. And the question for today is, what subjects do you need to do every day, and what are the other ones that you will loop? Weekly schedule. The biggest question here is 4 or 5 days is what I would see. And what would you do with an extra day? Some people take that extra day on Wednesday. They homeschool 2 days, day off homeschool. Some people do it on Friday, have a long weekend. That's really a personal preference. There's a lot of pros and cons about it. It's really up to you and what fits you, but you need to make that decision. I think it's important we do have downtime. And so maybe a 4-day week would work better for you. Maybe a 4-day week with Friday as field trips and fun things would work as well. The other thing I want to mention on a weekly basis is planning. How do you plan? How do you keep up with the planning? Some of you I've heard say, oh, I plan my whole year. I don't know how you can do a whole year when someone gets sick and you just can't do everything. It just throws you off. Personally, I think 1 week at a time is a more doable plan, and I would encourage you to time block. Find a time that you will block off every week, maybe just 1 or 2 hours. For me, that was Sunday night because my kids went to Awanas and Steve went and did visitation for our church. And so I was home by myself for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And I could actually sit right there at that desk that I'm looking at. And that's when I did my planning. You need to block off some time for that, and that will help you get consistent. So here's the bonus challenge. I told you had to listen to the video for the bonus challenge. The bonus challenge is letting us know in a comment what day and time are you going to block off for planning each week. And just let us know, and that will be the bonus challenge. Finally, annual, traditional or year-round. I'm pretty biased, but I understand that there are some people that need to do year-round as well. I believe, like I said, God rested on the seventh day. We all need rest and break. I schooled from Labor Day to Memorial Day. Did my kids quit learning in the summer? No. Did they quit reading in the summer? No. We did the library thingy-majobber every year. We read all the time. We still read aloud, which, if you considered my two goals, Bible and read aloud, technically we were still homeschooling because every day we were still having Bible devotions in the morning and we were still reading aloud every single morning. It looked a little different in the summer, but that is what we did. If you were to do year round, there's a lot of ways you could do it. Some people, the one I probably like the best, I don't remember her name, but they had to, because of their work schedule, they needed to work year round. She schooled 6 weeks, she took a week off, seventh week. She schooled 6 weeks, she took a week off, seventh week. Sort of sound familiar? God worked 6 days and he took the seventh day off. That would be one way to do it. So I would truly encourage you, if you are not taking breaks and you are homeschooling every day of the year, except for Christmas and Easter or whatever, rethink it. You need rest. Your kids need rest. Your brain needs a rest. God talks about rest in the Bible. We need to slow down. So another thing is, don't feel like every year you need to do every single activity. Look and see what's most important right now and do that, whether that's extracurricular or whether that's subject areas. I'm not going to talk about housework. Tomorrow we'll talk about getting organized with the home. But I would like to make a comment about this before we close. And that is, a schedule or a routine only works if you commit to it. You need to commit to this. You need to commit to a time that you plan. You need to commit to, to your one goal that we talked about yesterday. You need to commit to what are the 2 subjects or 3 subjects that you're going to do every single day. And I sort of forgot what the other thing was. Oh, how are you going to start your day? I forgot to tell you that. And then commit to whatever the most important thing is. That is how you're going to start your day as well. So if you have questions, leave them here. I'm not going to answer them. I'm going to answer them this evening at 6 o'clock Eastern time. But leave them here, and I will be happy to answer them, or send me a DM, and we will talk about them. I went a little bit longer than I expected. I hope you got something out of this. If I would love to hear how your scheduling's going, and you're welcome to leave your challenge answers, your little post-it notes. Remember, post-it notes. And put that time that you're going to get started, maybe on your bathroom mirror or at your kitchen sink, because more than likely you're somewhere else at that time, and that will help you remember. I'm starting at, and then write the time. So, okay, that's all I have today. Tomorrow we'll be talking about organizing your homeschool, your home, and your family. Talk to y'all later.